I think it's so important for business owners, entrepreneurs who have those other passions or those other goals
Mm-hmm.
to weekly be devoting at least some small portion of their schedule to it. To
Yeah.
keep working and
Keep.
exercising the
Yeah.
muscle, keep the
Yeah.
vision in front of you.
All right, so we're excited to welcome all of our listeners to another episode of On the Exit. Really excited to have a good friend of mine in the studio with us today, Jesse Taitt. Jesse, thanks for joining us, man.
I'm happy to be here.
Yep. Known Jesse for a few years. You're involved in real estate, other ventures, have some commercial real estate. So I'd love to just jump in and chat with you a bit about your entrepreneur journey and stuff you got going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excited.
So why don't you just tell us, Jesse, and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, about your business, and how you got started.
Yeah. So growing up a little bit, my mom was a realtor and my dad was in construction. And so kind of coming up, I kind of had two different approaches to the same world, right? So one person's building the house, the other person's selling the house or the property or whatever. I had no plans of actually going into real estate or doing anything with real estate specifically. But through a series of events, I kind of landed there, which is kind of funny because I think that tends to be a lot of people's experience. They're taking steps towards something that they want, and then all of a sudden they're in this different space that they never really expected themselves to end up in.
Wow.
And so for me, my kind of the direction I was going was definitely more like music heavy. So I love to sing and write songs, play guitar. And for me, that was kind of the trajectory. Growing up in a Christian family, we did a lot of like overseas mission trips. And so traveling was something that was always in my heart, going into different countries, experiencing different cultures. And so that was kind of more the trajectory. I'm like, I'm going to do music. I'm going to travel. This is going to be the way that I'm going to live. And what I found was you have to have resources to be able to provide for yourself to do those things. And that's pretty basic. You would think that's duh. And, the line of thought that I had, it's, the music was not going to provide what I need to have a wife and have kids and stability for my family, while also giving me the opportunity to travel and do all the things that I was wanting to do. And so, long story short, I worked for my father-in-law for a little while, and ultimately, the conversations I was having with him really began to like increase my interest in real estate because he's a business owner in Chicago, and through owning his business, he has also purchased land and buildings and property for his business to function. Then, a couple years later, sells it, moves to a different location.
Right.
But the sales are, garnishing large sums of profit.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at this as a younger guy working for my father-in-law, and I'm thinking, real estate is cool because he buys a property for $400,000 and in 2 years sells it for $650,000, $700,000, and it's like that's really great. I thought if he can do that, I can do that. And so ultimately, we moved back to Kansas City, my wife and I, and the first step for us was actually to get licensed as realtors. We were actually working full time at a grocery store.
Well,
while we were getting licensed.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, for me, I actually think that's an important part of the story because getting started is often the hardest part.
Yeah.
And it's often the most humbling, part of the story. And so I just remember working in the grocery store, and my wife and I we had the same shifts. We were going to real estate class together, so we were kind of doing both at the same time. Then we got licensed, but that doesn't mean that, you're going to have any business. You've got to work to get the business.
Yeah.
I had a script, and I knew that every person that came through my grocery line, I had like 60 seconds with them.
Yeah.
And I would run over the script to figure out, like, do they need to buy or sell a house?
Yeah.
And so we quickly started getting business, and I could kind of forecast, all right, we're going to be really solid.
Yeah.
I'm going to make in 1 month what I make in a year working at the grocery store.
Yeah.
So I think I quit the grocery store now. So we did that. We pivoted. We
Yeah.
pivoted and just started growing our real estate business very organically. We didn't, purchase leads. We didn't push any money towards even marketing or advertising much, and just use our immediate network to really build, what we currently have and what we started with. So over the years, as the business grew, obviously you're making more money. We're keeping our standard of living pretty modest for how much we're making, and that creates a bit more of savings for investing. And so that was kind of the trajectory. That's how we got launched, started the business, grew it. We're still growing it. I think this year is actually going to be a real year where we're focusing on growth within just our kind of selling, helping people buy and sell homes, building out a team. And then again, for me, the idea is when we build the team, it actually creates more room for me to do the things that I'm passionate about doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about that. We're kind of right on the front end of like putting the team in place. And, I think that is another stage where you probably invest a lot of time getting people trained and putting your systems up and running, but ultimately in the long run creates more space for you to have freedom to do what you want to do.
Yeah. So that kind of, prompts the question in me. Give us a minute or two on what is it, because it sounds to me like you're building your business, building it, obviously doing a great job, obviously built it from the ground up, bootstrapped it, literally pitching old ladies in the grocery.
I actually got incredible clients from that.
That is awesome.
One client, I think I've helped them
It's so
buy,
good.
sell, buy again, and then they moved, and
Yeah.
it's like funny.
That's amazing, but it seems like based on what you're saying, it's like you want to build a business that allows you to do something that's more purposeful and that you really desire. Talk to us. What is that? What's the thing that you would rather do?
So growing up, I said, in a Christian family, my faith is central to everything that I'm doing. And the vision that I had for my life was to take the passion that I have for music and specifically worship music and traveling internationally and being in different countries and kind of bringing those two worlds together. And so what the focus is to partner with different people in different countries to host retreats for songwriters.
Wow.
And so they come, they write songs, we produce the songs, for them at no charge, and then release the music. And the idea is that the music that we're writing and that we're releasing isn't exclusively Jesse Taitt. It isn't exclusively America. It's, bringing more people to the actual process of
That's
the
really
songs.
cool.
Because a lot of times if you're familiar with like the Christian music world, it's predominantly monopolized by the US, the UK, and Australia.
Yeah.
And so the whole vision for me has been how can we create more room at the table for people from other nations to contribute to like the portfolio of songs that people sing.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like all the work that you're doing in real estate to get to that.
Right.
Like I imagine you're working longer hours in some weeks than you would be just working at the grocery store still, right?
Right.
But you just continue to work there but you'd never really have an exit until you just quit that job, right?
Right.
But here you're actually building something that's meaningful that, then could last for decades, right?
Right.
And so I love that you have that clarity too, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, like they maybe want that exit, or that's always the idea of like financial or time freedom, but they don't know like how long it's going to take or they end up getting so kind of engrossed in the business and then maybe when they can exit and they end up like taking it to the next level, and so it always like requires their involvement,
Right.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're kind of like keeping that focus of like, no, I have another kind of like purpose or passion that you really want to transition to, right?
I think it's so important for business owners, entrepreneurs who have those other passions or those other goals to weekly be devoting at least some small portion of their schedule to it.
Yeah.
To keep working and exercising the muscle, keep the vision in front of you. So I try to do that through just a different couple things, but it's like, I know that if we were to just engross ourselves 100% in the business, obviously is the portion that's bringing in the resources, the money, that would take away at some point in time, you start to lose sight of the end goal of the strategy.
Yeah.
And so having some involvement with whatever your end goal is on a weekly basis, even monthly at a minimum, I think it helps so much to continue to do the things that you're doing and actually have the energy to do it. So I love my job. I love that I'm a realtor. Ultimately, I'm looking at myself more and more as a real estate investor. I mean, that was the goal. It's like I'm going to get into real estate, help people buy, sell properties, but I'm going to be buying and selling properties myself, renting properties. And the idea was, this dream of passive income. But as you guys know, it's very far from passive. Once you get into it, you start to realize there's a lot of effort that goes into actually getting to that passive income. And I mean, that's looking at 1,000 properties before you buy one, or maybe it's 100 before you buy one, or whatever. Just doing the numbers on the deal, renovating it, getting the tenants in place, maintaining the tenants, maintaining the property. So it's not that I have some dream or illusion that it's going to be hands off at some point, and I'm just going to only have money coming in with zero work, and then I'm going to be doing 100% of the music, traveling, gig or whatever.
But it'll be maintenance. You'll be managing something you've built.
More maintenance and less hands-on. And so that's kind of, and the truth is, I think when you're doing something like real estate, where you find I actually have passion in it, then even the maintenance is fun. So as I've gotten into being a realtor and being a real estate investor, I found so much joy and pleasure in actually doing my job. I love it. I really actually enjoy it. So I think about the exit and I think about what the vision is, but I also am so grateful to be in an industry where the exit doesn't mean in my mind that I'll stop ever. I'm still going to have my hands in it because I enjoy it. So, and I think that's the key, because I think the exit is about enjoying it.
Right.
That is so awesome. And especially because it's something you created too, right? So you something that you build from the ground up. It's you have that innate knowledge too, right?
Yes.
Of you built that team, you put that manager in place, or whoever it is, created those systems, and then now you can it can essentially run, the analogy that I've heard is building a machine versus if you have a machine that's built, you're just topping it up with gas, changing the oil every 3 months, and that machine is running.
Yes.
And you're just overseeing it.
Right.
But there's a period before that where you're building the machine, right? And we've all built businesses where it's and you don't know what parts go in, and it's hard to build that, and it's a lot of hours and energy, and then but having that vision for this is going to be built, and I'm just going to still be involved because I like it.
Right.
But I'm free now.
Right.
I think that's the cool part about being able to define your own exit, because sometimes we think it's either I'm all in or I'm not at all in. And with business, it doesn't have to be that way.
Absolutely.
You can build it in such a way that you get to play with it whenever you want to. And then obviously some basic maintenance type stuff, right? But the dream, at least for me, is to be able to come and go where I'm the controlling factor of my time. Right. So talk to us a little bit about how long, timeline-wise, do you think it's going to take you to get to that point, and what are the steps you're going to take to get there?
So timeline, I would say 3 to 5 years from now would be
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
estimate of a timeline.
That's sick.
And the fact that you even have that timeline is actually really cool.
Yeah.
Because you can see that, right?
Right. So the idea is, I think a lot of realtors who end up becoming investors tend to kind of leave the realtor world behind and become full investors, which I think is great. I'm kind of trying to do both and sustain both long term. And the idea in my brain is real estate business will be with a manager, a director of operations, someone who's overseeing the day-to-day. We've got multiple agents who are helping our buyers get under contract, we have people who are helping our sellers list their homes and sell them. And I have someone who's actually able to manage that, who gets compensated well, and that's taken care of. And all the clients are happy, everybody's happy. Bow on it.
Yeah.
And then that would probably free me up to continue to do investing, but I
Right.
don't want to let the thing with the bow fall away because it's
Right.
such a great source of revenue
Mm-hmm.
to keep
Yeah.
the bucket full for investing,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what. So if I can get the 3 to 5 years is where probably 3 years the thing with the bow
Yeah.
is kind of in place. Things are moving,
Yeah.
and then the focus becomes more so on finding investment properties
Yeah.
that are able to cash flow really positive.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And low maintenance. I like commercial. I love commercial.
Yeah, I was going
Yeah.
to touch on that
Yeah.
because when we hung out a little while ago, and a lot of people will buy a house, it'll be their first rental,
Yeah.
and you went and bought like a commercial,
Little
a
tiny
vacant
Yeah.
commercial building,
Right.
and got a tenant to renovate it all. Explain kind of why did you do that versus
Yeah.
the normal, hey, I'll buy a rental house,
Totally. Oh man. So with helping people buy and sell homes, I'm not like overly interested in investing in houses. It's like
Yeah.
it's like if you see something the same that every day after day after day, it's like
Mhm.
I kind of want to. I look at investing as it should be fun.
Uh-huh.
It
Yeah.
should excite you. And
Okay.
so you should invest in things that are exciting to you. So that the whole commercial world was just more exciting to me. I was
Yeah.
like, this is
Yeah.
cool. And it's kind of funny. So COVID hits
Yeah.
2020, sorry,
Yeah.
2019, 2020, and everything kind of goes, everybody's stuck in their house. I decide, I don't know what I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen with my business or what, but I'm on TikTok and I'm like
Mhm.
scrolling and I find this guy, his name's Dolph DeRoos. And I now like call him a mentor, though we've never met. And I call him the Mr. Rogers of commercial real estate. He's just this guy who's from New Zealand, but he's done commercial deals.
Yeah.
But he starts explaining in these TikTok videos about commercial investing. And so it just piques my interest because of it seems more passive. So the risk is higher. The passivity seems a little bit better.
Yeah.
So the risk is higher, the passivity, the appreciation. The way that you can appreciate a commercial property is different than you can with residential property.
You have control over it more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can kind of
For
force
sure.
appreciation
Mhm.
into a property a lot easier
Yeah.
than I can on a home.
Exactly.
So
100%.
all those three
Yeah.
things, more passive, and appreciation's better, and
Yeah.
I love all those things. So it's that kind of geared me towards commercial.
That's cool.
I love like the idea of a triple net lease.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what you've got set up. Like you don't.
Right.
How many hours a month do you spend on your commercial real estate?
0.
They do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just get a check, just deposited.
Right.
Mhm.
So initially, getting the property, getting things repaired, negotiating the lease, those sorts of things take some time.
Right.
But so that's where it's not necessarily passive there.
Getting it started.
Getting it
Set
started.
up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
getting it set up. Obviously, I've got a great tenant. They're amazing. They've
Mhm.
added so much value to the property, but also to the community. So
Yeah.
that's what's been a huge thing for me that I love. Like,
Uh-huh.
if you rent out a house, you're like adding value to that family
Mhm.
by renting that home to them. But it's kind of cool when you purchase a commercial space, you start adding value to an entire
To a community.
community of
Yeah,
people who
it's really cool.
now get to go to your building even though they don't know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
but now that it's set up and they
Mhm.
take care of their maintenance issues because it's a business, they don't need to call me for a leaking toilet. The sky's kind of the limit on how much money they can make from using the property, and so those little items that are maintenance items, they don't bother. The
They
landlord
just fix
because
them.
Those are just the things that are kind
They
of
just
cost
take care
of
of
doing business.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Very cool.
Well, man, what advice would you give to other kind of faith or purpose-driven business owners, entrepreneurs, and investors looking to kind of break into the commercial real estate investing industry?
I mean, know what you're getting into.
Uh-huh.
And I would download a couple of apps, like just familiarizing yourself with a city and specifically with an area. Study a city. If you're in a city that you live or even one that you don't live in that you want to invest in, know what's happening with the development in that area. Like, so we live in Kansas City. There are a few locations where the new Royals Stadium is being, forecasted to be built.
Yeah.
They've narrowed it down to like 4 or 5 locations.
Right.
So I'll tell you personally, I'll kind of open my playbook right now. I'm looking around those areas pretty frequently. If there's
Yeah.
new properties, new listings that are hitting the market, and just thinking, can I purchase a commercial space in some area? Now, it's a little risky because we don't know exactly where it's going to land, but pretty soon we will. The prices will go up.
Yeah, but you're thinking a lot. You're thinking strategically.
Yeah, being strategic.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's going to land here,
You want to be there.
yeah, and I can buy this, building that's torn down and renovate it,
Yeah.
get a tenant in it, the value will double. I mean, triple even. So
Yeah.
it's really
That's awesome.
Oh,
No,
that is
that's
cool.
really good.
Yeah, you got into, I guess, just kind of going back to getting into, wanting to be a real estate investor, because you talked about your father-in-law or your dad flipping the,
yeah, my father-in-law.
your father-in-law. Yeah.
That was working for him.
Yeah. And making those chunks of cash. And so, but instead of like just trying to go right to that, you kind of took that step of first getting your license and getting into the industry that way with maybe a little bit lower barrier to entry.
Right.
So that you could then be in that world. And even though commercial is a little bit different than residential, it seems like it was a bit of a step toward that, right?
Right.
And then, eventually the commercial, the income that you get from that and growth and everything could far surpass the thing with the bow on it,
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's like, it's
Real
a step
estate
to that, right?
Right.
So I thought that was interesting how you did that, because I think a lot of people are like, well, how am I ever going to buy a commercial building?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
and
like,
mine is not like this big, I didn't buy a skyscraper downtown.
Right.
2,500 square foot little guy,
Yeah.
But it's great. And that's just getting our feet wet.
Well, yeah.
And- But the way that the numbers work out, it's like the appreciation grows, like I said, so much faster than with a home. It's so predictable with a home. With commercial, your value is oftentimes just based on the lease, right? So how much are you renting it for? What is your cap rate based off of the lease agreement, the term length of the lease? And so that's where investors are looking for a property, and you can almost predetermine your value on that property. So
yeah, and then that opens up the door to, that's another step. I know I've seen in some business things I've been involved with, how it's just a step. Everything's kind of like, it's almost like a business is almost like walking through the forest with a flashlight, on the ground. You can't really see like fully, where the next step is, right?
Right.
And I think for entrepreneurs, they embrace that, or they just press through it, but a lot of people, because of uncertainty, like there's just, you don't get that momentum going, right?
Right.
But as you get out there and you get those relationships and those clients and you get your first property, and it really starts to snowball and open up, and the process expedites, right? And so I've seen it so many times with different business owners and stuff like that. So
yes.
yeah,
It's just kind of
it's
built
a cool journey.
Yeah, it is. It's super fun. So I'm just kind of like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Like, let's just take the steps. And it literally for me started with watching a TikTok from Dolph DeRoos. And I was like, okay, this guy's cool, and I'm just going to learn what I can. And then I started looking for commercial buildings. Because when we got our license, as realtors and started building our business, we didn't expect to go into commercial. That wasn't like in my brain. I wasn't thinking to buy commercial properties. I was thinking I want passive income, but all I really knew was to buy single family homes, maybe a duplex or something, and rent them out. And so the whole trajectory changed.
Develop. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Man, thank you for sharing your story and just all the kind of steps that you've taken along the way. It's been super inspiring, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it a lot, dude. We're going to jump into now the exit round, which is the 5 questions that we ask every guest that comes on the exit. And so I'm going to ask the first one, and everybody asks this question, and we want to kind of be trendy. So we're going to ask it. What is your all-time favorite business book?
All-time favorite business book. All right, I really love Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know that's everybody says that one. But let me say one that maybe not everyone. I like Creativity Inc.
Oh yeah,
Read Creativity Inc. And it's not technically like a business book. It's kind of a more autobiography type about Pixar.
Yeah,
but it's awesome. You should definitely check it out.
It's a great book. It's a really great book. Yeah. I took it.
Creativity Inc.
I love. There's an idea in that book that I really love where he says, because it's the founder of Pixar, right? Is the author,
right?
And I can't remember his name right now, but sorry, founder of Pixar, if you're listening to On the Exit. But one thing he says is, "You are not your idea," which is really cool, because it's just like sometimes as entrepreneurs we can get like personally attached to our ideas, and then when our idea doesn't work, it can kind of make us feel like we failed, when really it was just our idea that failed.
Right.
You know, exactly. You are not your idea.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so
It also works in the reverse, that when your idea succeeds, like you don't have to
It's-
you're not going to get all puffed up.
Right.
And it's like you're still staying humble about it. It's like,
Exactly.
Don't be a weirdo.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's
cool.
really cool.
Number two, what percentage would you say of your income is derived from passive income versus, active earned income?
Right
Currently.
now, like 10%. It's
Yeah.
little.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the goal, is to,
Over those 3 to 5 years to where it continues.
right, to where
Yeah.
that scale just continues to
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we probably already know some of the answer to this question. You talked about it in the interview, but we always ask this. What's one thing that you wish you could do more of, but your commitments to your business are holding you back?
probably travel with my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like the biggest thing. I am really excited for that 3 to 5 years from now, where
Yeah.
that percentage has shifted.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And freed up our time. We have, a great manager who's kind of keeping things running with the business. And then me and my wife, and we actually have number 3 on the way.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, nice.
So the kids, we could just go and
Yeah.
be places. We've done a good amount of traveling, but
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that percentage question too is just to get thinking along those lines of like we're all at some point along that
Right.
that journey, and to just be thinking like, okay, and you're already thinking that way
Oh,
of
yeah.
like, how do I increase that percentage, right?
100%. And I think the hardest thing for me with the harder part about commercial is the higher risk.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like finding the right property, it just takes more time.
Yeah,
You
I
can go
see.
buy a house. There's like a million of them, and just put a tenant in there. And you can go buy duplexes, quadplexes, apartment complexes. And it's so safe because people are always going to need a place to live. But when you're
Yeah.
really geared towards commercial, it tends to be a little harder to find the right property at the right price. And can you get a tenant in it? And obviously there's ways you can start.
Vacancies and different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Number 4, if you could go back kind of to before you started your business, is there anything you do differently or advice you'd say to your, to yourself starting that real estate company previously?
Yeah, I think I actually just had a meeting with someone yesterday who's younger than me, who's early 20s. And I just was encouraging them to just start buying real estate, like just get the ball rolling faster.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, I wish I would have just started purchasing properties sooner, whether that be residential, commercial, anything like that.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good advice.
Yeah, don't wait to buy something.
Yep.
Meaning, if you haven't bought anything, you don't know what you're doing, it's okay. You'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
Just buy something.
Yeah, it's like kind of a popular cliche in real estate industry is like you don't wait to buy real estate, you buy real estate and wait.
Right.
Like that's the philosophy because over time, it's like maybe the only asset class that historically over time always goes up. So last question, what is your strategy for creating more time freedom and financial freedom for yourself?
I mean, the strategy is, purchasing real estate
Yeah.
Yeah.
at this point, getting the revenue machine. So helping people buy and sell homes,
Getting that business running.
getting that
Yep.
bigger,
Mm-hmm.
creating more revenue.
Yeah.
That revenue becomes your seed to go
Yeah.
purchase real estate. And,
Yep.
continuing to, like you were talking about, Aaron, you're the entrepreneur in the forest. What's the next bigger step? And I'm willing to sell, don't need to sell. Do I take out an equity line of credit, whatever? Just continuing to up to the next one.
Yeah.
Creating that time freedom, that financial freedom with my family, for my family.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for jumping on the exit. It's been a really
Yeah,
good
man,
interview.
that's great. Where can people find you, Jesse, if they're in Kansas City looking to buy or sell their home?
Yeah, well, we are licensed with Keller Williams, and the name of our team is the Taitt Homes team. You can find us on Instagram, social media. You can email me, Jesse.
Taitt, right?
Yeah, Taitt, and it's
Yeah.
kind of funny. Our hashtag is real estate, but it's my last name, so Taitt. It's not T-A-T-E. So it's
Yeah.
Clever.
That's awesome. So it's Jesse at TaitHomes.com,
Yeah,
right? That's your email address. So if you're in Kansas City, need to buy a house, need to sell a house, get a hold of Jesse at TaitHomes.com.
Yep.
Love it.
All
Thanks
right.
again, Jesse. Awesome,
Thank you,
man.
guys. Appreciate
Sweet.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See ya.